What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at my Film Folio, which is going to be a semi-complete compilation of the films that I've been involved with over the last decade. That includes the one that I'm currently writing. Excuse me. Just going to take some water very quickly. That's better. Alright. So the first film is called Heist. I'm not going to harp on about it too much because if I can make a digital copy from my physical copy, you'll get to see it next month. There you go, something to look forward to. The second one was sort of same era, and by same era I mean basically the same month that we'd filmed Heist. We filmed this one, I think it was like the next week, because they're TAFE films and we met at TAFE every Monday afternoon. So this was sort of like the Monday after I filmed Heist. I was just an actor, whereas with Heist I had a little bit more creative input into like the story and the characters and stuff. But it was called, I think it was something like Heartthrob or something like this. It was basically about a teen pregnancy, and the protagonist, who is obviously the girl who's pregnant, freaks out and thinks that her boyfriend's leaving her because she's told him that she's pregnant, only for him to sort of turn up right at the end and surprise her with flowers, and they sort of walk off happily into the sunset, sort of a thing. The third one was called Hostage. It was later that year. If Heist was like semester 1, then Hostage was semester 2, sort of a deal. We were given an assignment to write a short film script, and then we would all vote on which one was best, and we would just make that. So it was sort of a majority rules sort of a thing. And yeah, so Hostage ended up being, a guy tied to a chair. He's in an abandoned warehouse. The mafia, mafioso comes in, asks him where like the briefcase is, very vague, beats him until he sort of starts laughing, and so, looks up with a crazy look in his eyes and like, I'll never tell you, or like, you'll never find it, or something like this, and then that was it. Nice, short, sweet, left a lot to the imagination. You get to fill in the blanks afterwards. It was very good. My contribution to the pool of scripts was called Horseman, and it was an alien invasion film. I was gonna just have the aliens be like invisible, whether through tech or like, they're chameleon species that can just blend into their backgrounds perfectly, whatever it might have been. I hadn't figured that bit out. The idea was gonna be that we would just record whatever lines the alien themselves had to say in a quiet room with no distractions and no sort of other noises around, and then we would just edit the lines into the shots, which could have been cool, but it didn't end up happening. And then, as you probably noticed, there's a little bit of an ongoing joke here with all of the titles starting with H, and to finish that off was my my HSC drama major, which was called Hell Have No Fury, and it was loosely based on the Greek myth of Agamemnon, sort of after the Trojan War. That was my drama major. The next one was called Spirited. It was a film that my best friend at the time and this is actually the last time I spoke to them. They'd written it. It was a very good script. And I said, hey, this is really good. Do you mind if I actually direct this? Like, can we actually make this into a film? I'd love to work with you on another film, because we'd both done the film course together. And they're like, yes, let's do it. And so our TAFE teacher actually ran a drama group on Friday afternoons. I took the script up there, and this particular week that I went up there, my friend wasn't able to come because of personal issues, but they're like, you know, take it, have fun, enjoy. I'll be there next week to sort of finish off doing, like, finalizing auditions and stuff. I was like, cool, no problem. I'll just make some notes of who I think is acting out what I'm reading and what I'm interpreting is supposed to be these lines. I'll sort of make a short list for you, so you don't have to sit in for too much, sort of thing. Second week rolls around, they turn up, class is getting organised by the teacher, we're setting ourselves up to run through the short list, and the teacher refers to it as my film, which, as far as IP laws and rights are concerned for films, the script as a script and only in that form belongs to the screenwriter. The finished product, the film, belongs to the director. So whenever you see like a film by Tim Burton didn't write it, he didn't produce, he didn't score the music, he didn't, do any of the gaffer work, he didn't hold a boom mic, he may not even have manned a camera. But as the director, he's the one who has basically final say on any of the creative choices, and therefore it is his intellectual property. And that's all the teacher was referring to. Was referring to the actual film, not the script. My friend took it the wrong way as me trying to take credit for the script, despite its having a front page with her name literally on it. And yeah, that was the last I heard of them. Really sort of sucky way to end what had been at that time 7-year friendship. But it's just the way things happen sometimes. And it had been about, it was essentially like a Sixth Sense sort of a thing, but if you make it so that the guy that can see dead people falls in love with one of the ghosts. So it's Sixth Sense meets Twilight. But it was actually a decent script, like it was actually a good script. The ghosts didn't sparkle, if you're wondering. The next one was the very next year. I again was taking part in a HSC drama major, although this time I wasn't the one having to write and direct and edit and produce and do literally every other major thing for it. I just got to turn up and be the actor, and I also ended up being the assistant director as well. Number 8 on my list, and we're halfway through the list at this point as well, is a documentary called Northwest Not Out. I will leave a link to it below, and I'll probably end up doing a little series based on this list, and I'll just sort of talk about them more in greater detail. Obviously, I'm not going to do so for Heist. You're just going to get to watch that and enjoy it. Maybe I might film like a little director's commentary thing and try to edit them together or something. I don't know, but I'll work something out. So yeah, I'll leave a link for Northwest Not Out in the description as well, so you can go check that out. It was a documentary that I did for the Northwest Film Festival in, I want to say, 2014. No, sorry, 2015. I've got my little list here, back to front. this was 2015, and these ones would have been 2014 then. Okay. So then the next ones on my list were a silent romance film called Love in the Silence, very original, and an action film called Maximum Impact, which really just sounds like a film that would have, Vin Diesel, Jason Statham, and you'd find it in the action movie bargain bin. It really does sound like one of those movies. And for it's supposed to be an action film, there wasn't a whole heap of action. Like I didn't get to like make a really cool action sequence, which I would have loved to have done for an action film. But that wasn't what the script was. It was pitched to me as an action film, and even though I was the director, it didn't. But those two films go together, and I will, like I said, I'll make a little series out of this and I'll talk about it. The next one on my list is another documentary. This one was supposed to be for the 15 years of hip-hop music in Inverell, which is where I went to school. I was going to do it for one of my friends who was actually sort of instrumental in setting that whole scene up. But I've now, I recently messaged him sort of within the last month, and at the moment we're planning on redoing that whole thing, because I filmed it all. I've got it all in camera. I think I've even still got the tape that it's all on. Tapes are funny, and they want you to use the camera that you filmed with to export them. But I was borrowing a camera for this documentary, and if I'd thought about it, I should have exported the raw footage onto an external hard drive, but I wasn't thinking about it, and I ended up coming home and trying to use my camcorder, completely different camera, to export, and obviously came up against that little hiccup where tapes don't like you doing that. So I've still technically got all the footage for it. It's just a couple of years old now, and people have had more life experiences and stuff, and I'm looking forward to the 21st anniversary, where we're gonna do a big thing. At the moment, it's if I can get into AFTRS next year, it'll actually come around in my second year. And so far, from what I know, documentary filmmaking is sort of the goal of one of the assignments. So if I can hit two birds with one stone, I'm gonna do it. Very keen to remake that film. Then we've got another one that was just a script. This one sort of, again, bordered on the whole crime genre that I'd sort of been touching on every sort of second film. But I tried to make this one a little bit more sort of superhero-y. There were no actual powers or anything in it, but it did have sort of a sort of Shield-esque agency involved. And then at that point, after I wrote that script and had a lot of trouble producing it, I decided to go back and take Heist, take Hostage, take Health and Fury, take Jane Doe, take Maximum Impact, and then take that script, which was called Phoenix Rebirth from Ashes, and just sort of push them all together because they all shared the same genre, and a friend had actually asked me, the same friend who I would love to do my little story time about Jane Doe with. Did I mention Jane? Yes, I did mention Jane Doe. I'd love to tell that story with them. That same friend actually messaged me and was like, hey, we all know that our experience with this particular film shoot was an absolute, like, it was, if it was your first film shoot, you'd be instantly put off by like that first impression. So would you mind rewriting the film? And I've already asked, and all the other cast members are happy to come back and redo it if you'll write and direct it, and maybe we can make it a little bit better, because now we don't have the constraints of what the HSC wants. We can make it as long as we want. We can add as much character development as we want. And so I started rewriting that, and then went, hang on, I could put this in, I could put this in, I could put this in. Love in the Silence and Maximum Impact ended up becoming my B storyline. It became my romantic sort of subplot, involving the two police officers involved. Because in my head, the two actors that had played the lovers in Love in the Silence also played the partners, the police officers in Maximum Impact. So in my head, those police officers were also in a relationship with each other. And so that was really fun to play with, as far as like them meeting and then suddenly realizing that they work together, and then, you know, well, now where do we go from here? And then still choosing to have a professional relationship and a romantic relationship, but just try to keep those two worlds separate. The film ended up having corrupt cops, and ended up having a very big sort of organised crime syndicate involved. Obviously a large fictional crime syndicate involved. And then I decided, well, what the heck, let's just take pretty much everything else that I've done and throw it in. So the pregnant girlfriend from Heartthrob ended up being the girlfriend of the person in Phoenix, Rebirth from Ashes, like the main character. I don't think I involved the aliens, and that's the only thing I didn't involve, was the aliens from Horseman. The character from Spirited ended up being involved, because there's going to be a lot of murders in this, so they'll be able to like see all the dead people and sort of get the information from them, and they'll sort of run their own sort of sideline investigation, and they became best friends with the protagonist from Hell is No Fury, who actually dies, and so that's sort of how we can tie that in. And yeah, it ended up becoming my first feature-length script. It ended up being 196 pages, and it's called Lady Killer, because by this time I had gotten the script writing book, Save the Cat, and it had, in one of its chapters, it talks about coming up with log lines and titles and stuff, and you want something that's going to describe the situation in more than one way. So Lady Killer, because our main character, is in that more traditional sense of the word, a lady killer. He's to quote the second film that I was a part of, he's a heartthrob. All the ladies are dying for him. They want him. He's a lady killer. And then on the other hand, all of the murders being conducted by what ended up being a serial killer in my film was, they were all women. So the film's also about someone who is killing ladies, a lady killer. So that's why I ended up titling it Lady Killer. I then started, I took sort of a year or two break, because I just, at this point, was burnt out. I kept trying to make films and I'd get to a certain point, and then whether it was, you know, day before we started filming, and all of my actors just decide to flake because they're going off to, you know, summer vacation in 2 weeks' time. So I've still got time to shoot with you guys. Why are you? Or I'd just not have enough foresight to export onto an external hard drive. I decided to take a break. And then when I came back, I wanted to write a film about paying it forward. So I made a film called Samaritan, or I wrote a script for a film called Samaritan, which was, yeah, essentially just that. It was about paying it forward, and it was just gonna sort of follow not one specific character. It was gonna follow the chain of events of like, okay, so we follow this character until they improve this person's day, and then we're gonna follow them until they improve this person's day, and then we follow them until all the way back around until someone improves the original person's day, and then we see them sort of smile and go, you know, they sort of smile and they walk off, and as they sort of walk off, we see them like, you know, do another good deed, with the idea being that it's a cyclic thing. It's going to come back to you, like the whole idea of karma. I've just remembered 2 more. I can't think of where they were fitting in, but one was another documentary that I was doing for, I think this was also a TAFE one. May have also been a TAFE one. But I'd interviewed my grandfather. I think I still have those particular shots. I hope I do, because I can't retake them. He passed away in 2000 and, must have been 2011 or early 2012, because November 2011 he passed away, so I can't retake those shots, but if I can find those shots, and now I want to sort of, now that it's a decade on, I want to interview my father, because it was my paternal grandfather, and I want to interview my aunt and my cousins about what they remember the most about my pop, and I want to make that film. I want to make that documentary, and if I can get some archive footage, I'd love to get some archive footage of like Christmases and stuff. I think that'd be really cool, and I'll just edit together a nice little piece, because I think that'd be cool. So that one was called, and this one's gonna go underneath the hostage. I think I ended up calling that Pop on Top, because that's what we called him. We called him Pop. And the other one goes before Lady Killer. I was a what do they call them? A youth leader at a youth group on Friday nights, and the kid that I had in my group was sort of a little bit more restless than others, and so we'd come up with this idea of like, okay, well, what if we, you know, knowing that I did film, they found that really cool. They couldn't wait to make a little movie, and so we came up with the idea of during the times where everyone else would be doing their little Bible passages and stuff, we'd come up with sort of our little script and stuff. We'd try to make it on theme with the readings and stuff that we were doing, and once we'd sort of come up with our script, sort of in the holidays when they were free, we were going to get permission from their parents, obviously, to be able to go out and film with them. Parents were more than welcome to come along and watch. And we were going to film sort of in the first week of the holidays. The second week of the holidays, I was going to edit the film together, and then on the first week back, we were going to show the film. only reason that one didn't come through was because during the particular holidays, I actually had a bit of a rough go of things, mentally speaking, and I moved here. So that and because they were so distracted and stuff, we never actually got enough time to finish the script. We had a fair idea of like what some of the sequences were going to look like in it, but we never actually got time to fully create it. And I think it had the working title at the time of like Link in Time or something, because he wanted to be a superhero or like a super-powered character with like control over time sort of a thing, and he'd be able to jump through time, and we were gonna have it being that, you know, even though he has full control over time, he's still late to the most important things in his life, or he's still, you know, like he can still never find the time to do everything. Yeah, and so that brings me to my final two, which was this year's film, which was the after shoot that I went on. I've made a full video about that as well. I have received the director's cut. What I have not received is distribution rights, so I cannot show you guys that. But it's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad I was a part of that. I'm so glad. Because that is such a good little documentary. It's about cancel culture, and it's really cool. It meets some really cool people, including the director, who I think is amazing. I can't wait to work with them again. Yeah. It was a good film. And then that brings me to the last one on my list, which is number 18. Can you believe I've been a part of minimum 18 projects in the last decade? I can't. But that is, I'm rewriting Heist. So the film that you'll see next month, it'll have a similar thumbnail to this video, so just keep your eyes out for it. I'm rewriting its script. I'm going to include dialogue. I'm extending it from, I've actually got a copy of sort of shot for shot with dialogue of, because Heist's more or less a silent film. And so I sort of wrote down a shot for shot sort of list, essentially, and laid it all out in script formatting. And I've got 2 pages. I'm allowed 5 for my afters application. So that's why I'm rewriting it. 10-year anniversary of Heist. We're going to give it a facelift. We're going to sort of put our first foot forward. Because just like Heist was my first full step into my film career, I'm hoping that this script will help be my first foot forward into actually studying at, let's not be coy about it, the school of my dreams. I would love to go to AFTRS. So yeah, that's all I got for this video. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell as well if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Again, links down below for any of my videos that I've mentioned, as well as for Northwest Not Out. Please do check that out. It is a really nice little documentary there. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below as well. Which of these would you like to see? Because if I can find the actual film itself, I will upload it if you would like to see it. I think I've got a copy of Spirited. I'm not sure if the sounds fully synced up though, could be an issue. It's a minor re-edit though. So if you'd love to see that, let me know down below. And until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.